Hey everybody, and welcome back or welcome to another one of my videos. My name is Lauren Porter and you're watching Quarters with Porter. So for today's video, we are going to be talking about the Atlanta Falcons 2024 draft class. This year, the Atlanta Falcons had a bunch of controversy around their draft picks, but they're actually also a top team ranked for improved defense after the draft. So that's something to keep in mind as well. The Atlanta Falcons selected 8 new rookies in this year's draft from rounds 1 through 7. And I'm going to be telling you everything that you need to know about every single rookie that the Falcons drafted this year. So let's go ahead and get this video started. So obviously, I'm sure we're all aware, with the number 8 overall pick, the Atlanta Falcons selected quarterback out of Washington, Michael Penix Jr. This was the pick that literally shocked the entire world. People were pissed, people were confused. Everyone did not see this coming, especially given the team's defensive needs. Nobody really saw them picking a quarterback, especially considering the fact that they did just sign Kirk Cousins to a $180 million 4-year contract. Even though only $100 million is guaranteed, that's a lot of money to be giving him just to draft his successor a month later. But I do have an entire video on Michael Penix, everything that you need to know about him, in my opinion, on that draft pick. So I'm not going to be going too into detail about him. Check out that video if you want all of the details, but I will give you guys the general gist. Michael Penix is from Tampa, Florida, and he originally committed to play football at Indiana University, where he spent 3 seasons there, 3 very injury-filled seasons. He tore his ACL 2 times while he was at Indiana, so he did not see very much playing time, but in the playing time that he did get when he was not injured, there was a lot of sparks of greatness. After 3 injury-filled years at Indiana, Michael Penix entered the transfer portal and he ended up at University of Washington, where his career finally started to soar because he did not see any more injury. So I'm just gonna assume that the injury comes from Indiana. It's not him, it was Indiana. His first season at Washington, he led the team to an 11-2 record. And he also won Comeback Player of the Year. The following season, which is this most recent season, he led the team to an undefeated record up until the point where they lost to Washington in the national championship. Michael Penix has an arm on him, and that's why if you're upset about this selection of him, don't be upset. Be mad at the Kirk Cousins contract, do not be mad at Michael Penix, because this kid has an arm on him. He had a total of 4,900 passing yards, as well as 39 total touchdowns, and out of those 39, 36 of those were passing. And if you know, you know, the Falcons have not had a quarterback that can throw that ball in a minute. He finished second in Heisman voting behind Caleb Williams, and he's actually the first college football player since 2016, back when Patrick Mahomes did it, to get back-to-back 4,500 plus yard seasons. So if that's not an accomplishment, I don't know what is. He was also the only college football quarterback to throw over 40 big-time passes this past season. Despite the rumors, Arthur Blank did sign off on the Atlanta Falcons getting Michael Penix. Atlanta clearly values his skill set. He is a very skilled quarterback. And Michael Penix and Kirk Cousins, there's no drama there. The two are very excited to work together. So Michael Penix will probably be sitting behind Kirk for the next 2 to 3 seasons before we finally get to see him take the field. But I know when he takes the field, he will be a star for this team. Like I said, if you want more detailed information on Michael Penix, it will be linked down below, my full video on him. But besides that, let's get into these other draft picks because they are good. So after the selection of Michael Penix at quarterback, the team's main goals was to add size and depth to the defensive line, which is something that was very much needed. Defense was needed in this draft, and the Falcons did exactly that literally for the rest of the draft. After Michael Penix in the first round, the Atlanta Falcons' next 3 selections were defensive linemen, so let's get into it. In the second round, the Falcons actually ended up trading up 8 spots to 35 so that they could draft Rook Ororo. I'm so sorry because I'm probably not saying that right, but I promise you I'm trying my best. He is a defensive tackle out of Clemson. Rook was actually born in Lagos, Nigeria, where he lived up until the point he was 9 years old, and he ended up moving to America where he lived in Michigan. Rook actually did not start playing football until 2017, his junior year in high school. He was originally a very successful basketball player until he found interest in football. Even though he started playing football very late, he still had so many P5 D1 offers. I mean, he is 6'4", 300 pounds. He's the perfect defensive size. He ended up committing to Clemson University, where he ended up playing 5 years for the Tigers. In his 5 seasons at Clemson, he accumulated 97 tackles, 25.5 tackles for loss, including 12 sacks, 9 pass breakups, and 2 fumble recoveries over 53 games in his entire career. In his most recent season, he had 25 tackles, 13 of those being solo, as well as a single season 5 sacks total. So I think that's the reason why the Falcons ended up getting Rook, because the Falcons needed to get someone who can sack, and it's clear Rook can sack. I mean, 5 in 1 season is good. Rook is a very powerful, athletic defensive lineman, and he has a lot of versatility on the defensive line. Some have called him the best run defending lineman out of this entire draft class. So only time will tell if that is actually true, but I hope it is, because that is exactly what the Falcons need. Up next, the Atlanta Falcons, or should I say the Washington Falcons, drafted Bralen Trice, 74th overall in the 3rd round from the University of Washington. Bralen is an outside linebacker out of Washington. Like I said, he's coming here with Michael Penix. Let me just say this about Bralen. He was a steal. If anyone else stole any players out of this draft, it was the Atlanta Falcons with Bralen Trice, because I honestly don't understand how he even fell to the 3rd round. He was one of the most productive pass rushers in college football for the past 2 seasons. He has also led the FBS in quarterback pressures since 2021. So with this selection, the Falcons have finally got the edge rusher that everyone was expecting them to get in the 1st round, but they ended up getting him in the 3rd round, and I'm not mad at it at all, because Bralen Trice, he's him. He is 6'3", 245 pounds, so he is great size for an edge in the NFL. He played 3 seasons at Washington from 2021 up until 2023, and he is now 23 years old. People like to call Michael Penix old, saying that he's 24, but honestly, a lot of the players that the Falcons drafted are 23 turning 24, or are already 24 years old. 23, 24 is not old. A lot of these players just played football throughout COVID. Like, keep that in mind. But back to Bralen, let's get into some of his college stats. So he had a total of 101 tackles, with 63 of those being solo, 28.5 tackles for loss, 18 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries, 2 passes defensed, and 1 forced fumble in his time at Washington. This most past season, he had a career high 49 tackles, with 30 being solo, while adding 11.5 tackles for loss, 7 sacks, 2 passes defensed, and 1 forced fumble, and then a fumble recovery in a total of 15 games this season. So I'm liking what I am hearing. In the past 2 seasons, Trice has also earned a 90% pass rushing grade, and he has racked up 150 total pressures and an 869 total rushing span. Now, the good thing about Bralen Trice is that he has a lot of upper body strength. He is a very strong defensive player. Reads blocks well to set up the edge against defensive tackles, which is more things that the Falcons needed to add to their defense. If you couldn't hear from based off everything I have just said, this pick was definitely a steal for the Falcons. Don't know how he dropped to the 3rd round of this year's draft, but hey, as long as he's on my team, I'm good. The 4th round of this year's draft, with the 109th overall pick, the Atlanta Falcons selected Doras, a defensive tackle out of the University of Oregon. Brandon Doras is also 23 years old. He is 6'3" and 283 pounds. Brandon Doras is a very versatile lineman. He has played at different spots at his time in Oregon, played defensive tackle as well as defensive end. He feels as if his versatility sets him apart from other defensive players in this year's draft, which I think it does too. I mean, he can play two different positions and he can play both positions well. He has a great blend of athleticism as well as strength, which will definitely transfer over to the NFL. In 2021, his 134 total pressures that season was the best out of anyone in his position in the country at the time. The reason why the Atlanta Falcons ended up drafting Brandon is because of the strong recommendations that the team had from Brandon's defensive coordinator at Oregon. He said that you have got to get this kid, he's amazing. So the Atlanta Falcons did exactly that. Only time will tell if this recommendation will end up working out for the team, but I have hope that it will. With the 143rd overall pick in the 5th round, the Atlanta Falcons selected JD Bertrand, an inside linebacker out of Notre Dame. JD is 6'1", 235 pounds, and he is 24 years old. He's actually a Georgia boy, so with the Falcons drafting him, he is returning home. He was born in Alpharetta, Georgia, and he went to high school in Roswell, Georgia. He played 5 seasons at Notre Dame, where he was a 2-time team captain, and he has led the team in tackles for 3 consecutive seasons now. This past season, in 12 games, JD racked up 76 tackles, 41 being solo, 7.5 tackles for loss, 5 passes defense, 2.5 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. Off the field, JD is known by many for being a very great person. He does a lot for the community as well as his teammates, but on the field, that talent is there. JD is a very intelligent and competitive linebacker who provides lots of value in the coverage. He is believed to be a solid contributor to special teams. And the cool thing about JD is that he has allowed zero touchdowns in the coverage over the past 2 seasons. In this past season as a blitzer, he has recorded a career high of 30 quarterback pressures. So that is great to hear as well. I cannot wait to see what JD is going to contribute to special teams and this defense in general. With the 186th overall pick in the 6th round of this year's draft, the Atlanta Falcons selected Jace McKellen, a running back out of Alabama. Jace is the smallest and youngest player that the Falcons drafted this year. He is 21 years old. He is 5'11" and 212 pounds. He is coming out of the SEC, University of Alabama, where he ended up playing 4 seasons there. One thing about Jace is that he is going to take care of the ball. I mean, 1 fumble in your entire college career, that's definitely an accomplishment. This is very notable considering the fact that he played in 43 games. So in 43 games on 350 carries, 1 fumble. Now let's talk about some of Jace's college stats. So in his entire career, 4 years, he had 1,981 rushing yards, so almost 2,000, 18 rushing touchdowns, and in addition to 40 catches for 409 yards and 6 receiving touchdowns. So he can catch the ball and he can run with the ball. The unfortunate thing for Jace here is that he is joining a very stacked running back room. I mean, come on now, the Falcons have Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier, 2 amazing running backs. So it's going to be hard for him to fight for time on the field. But this is not the first time that Jace has had to fight for his position. I mean, he comes from Alabama, a school that has produced some amazing running backs. And he had to sit behind those amazing running backs as well. Nick Saban even describes Jace as tough and gritty. So he is going to fight for his spot on the team. What's commendable about Jace is that even though he had to sit behind other great running backs at Alabama and he could have entered the transfer portal, he didn't. He decided to stay at Alabama and stick it out through with the team, and now he's an Atlanta Falcon. With the 187th overall pick in the 6th round, the Atlanta Falcons selected Casey Washington, a wide receiver out of the University of Illinois. Casey is 6 foot 200 pounds, and he is also 23 years old. He played 5 seasons at the University of Illinois, and in this time he had about 1,500 yards as well as 11 touchdowns. He played 5 seasons at the University of Illinois, and in this time he played 55 games where he had about 1,500 yards and 4 touchdowns. The Falcons feel as if Casey can really flourish and be a great fit for the Falcons offense with the new offensive coordinator, Zach Robinson. The Falcons can see the two working well together. The Falcons also feel as if he can work extremely well with Michael Penix or Kirk Cousins with his style of play as a receiver. So a lot of people have been calling Mr. Casey a sleeper. People are sleeping on him. They say this was a sleeper pick. So only time will tell, and we'll see if he ends up making this final roster, because the Falcons did end up getting a lot of receivers through the offseason. So hopefully, you know, wishing Casey the best of luck, and hopefully he does fit into this offense the way the Falcons believe he can. And with the 197th overall pick, the last pick for the Falcons in this year's draft, in the 7th round, they selected defensive tackle out of Georgia, Zion Logue. I think I'm saying that right. I hope I'm saying that right. I've been butchering names this entire video. Zion is 6'6", 314 pounds, and he is 22 years old. Like I said, he's coming from University of Georgia, so he's staying home. This is actually a cool statistic because the Atlanta Falcons used to really never get UGA players, but ever since they got Terry Fontenot, they have been drafting players from University of Georgia. It's the 3rd time in 4 years that the Falcons have selected a player out of Georgia under Terry Fontenot. He's 6'6", 314 pounds, so his size is there. The size is great. He's huge, big, strong, physical. He's everything that you will want in a defensive tackle. And hello, he's coming from one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in college football. I'm also biased, but come on now, Georgia's defense is up there, and everyone has to admit that. This most recent season, he had a career high 17 tackles. Now let's talk about his stats at Georgia overall. He played in 50 games for the Bulldogs, totaling in 52 tackles, with 28 of those being solo, 5 tackles for loss, 3 passes defensed, 1.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and 1 fumble recovery. It's believed that he can fit great onto this defense. We do have a new fresh defense coming in, and I feel like all of these rookies are honestly going to make the team. Overall, the Falcons have been ranked pretty much a C by most people who are judging this entire draft class. I feel like the reason why it is so low is because of the Michael Penix pick, because so many people are confused by that pick. But if you think about it, it makes sense. Why would you not want to be secured in your future? Like, our defense is now stacked. Well, stacks might be a little bit of a drag, but our defense is better. Our defense is better. Can't wait to see what they're going to do this upcoming season with the new fresh defensive coordinator. Our offense is stacked. Our offense has been stacked, and now we have a quarterback room with a great starter and a great backup. When is the last time the Falcons have had a great starter and a great backup? Like, the Michael Penix pick is not that crazy. If anything, everyone should be happy that the Falcons finally have a stable quarterback room. The quarterback position is stable. We have got the edge rusher we needed. We got the defensive pieces that we needed. The Falcons got everything that they needed in this draft besides a corner. A corner is the only thing that we could have gotten in this draft that we're missing out on, but hey, who knows what's gonna happen with the remainder of this year's offseason. Overall, how do we feel about this year's draft class? I'm gonna give us like a B-. I give us a B-. I don't think we're a C. I think we're a B-. I like all of the picks. I like all the new fresh energy that this team is having. Like I mentioned in every single video, I'm so excited for this new season. I cannot wait to see what the Falcons are going to do with all of this new freshness. You know, new coach, new OC, new DC, new everything, new rookies, new players through free agency. There is so many new things going on with this team, and everything so far has been pretty positive. So that is so exciting. But thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If this is your 3rd year in a row watching this video, leave a comment down below and let me know how long you have been rocking with Quarters with Porter. Because if this is your 3rd year, you're a real one, and I love you. Keep rising up, y'all, and I will see y'all in my next video. Be sure to subscribe for more sports content. Bye.